Hello there, G.I. Sanders from NTX Vinyl, coming at you with another segment of Talking About Records, where you guess it, I'm going to talk about records. This is a fun one. Hopefully, I'll keep it brief, got to do my best, but when I start talking about records, that's usually not what happens. We shall see. The do's and don'ts of record collecting. This is one I thought of. This would be good for new collectors, some stuff in here maybe for more experienced collectors that are constant reminders for myself. So a little bit of everything in here. We're gonna get going. The first thing that I would say is number one, don't take your records for granted. And what I mean by that is we all have records in our collection that we care about more than others. Maybe because they're more valuable, maybe because you've had them longer, whatever it may be. Then there is the segment of records you have that maybe you don't care quite as much about right now. But I can tell you from experience, don't take any record for granted. Because if I think back to when I started collecting 20, 25 years ago, there are records that I had then that I bought new that I wish I had taken better care of. And that's because at the time they were very common, and just time and place weren't as important to me. Records in general weren't as important to me, but over time, those have become very valuable and I wish I would have taken better care of them. So that's a big one. Treat every record as an equal. Take good care of it. Make sure it stays in good condition. Sleeve it properly, clean it properly. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those things, but that's my biggest don't to start off, is just don't take any record for granted, regardless of where it falls in your collection, regardless of what it's worth. Take good care of it. Treat them all as equal, and you'll be much happier about that in the long run, I guarantee you. On the flip side, first do, and this is kind of a no-brainer, I've done other videos on this, but catalog your records in Discogs, or catalog them somewhere. I say Discogs because that's what I use, and that's what has become a little bit of the standard as far as cataloging your collection. But again, one thing that I regret not doing earlier was starting in Discogs, mainly because it'll educate you as far as what you have. But then I'd say most importantly is it's better to do that sooner than later, because you're going to accumulate more records over time, and it becomes a lot more daunting when you've got maybe hundreds or thousands of records versus maybe just a few. So start early. Even if you've only got 50 records in your collection, 100 records, like, you can get ahead of that, right? You can actually get those in there over the course of a couple weeks or months. Take your time and it won't be that bad. If you wait till they really stack up and you've got a whole wall full of records, believe me, it's a very daunting task. So I would definitely recommend to start cataloging as soon as possible. Get them logged. It's very important to know what you have for a variety of reasons. I think that's a really good tip for new collectors and for collectors who've just been putting it off. Just dive in and do it. You got to get it done eventually. You will be much happier in the end once you have a really good view of what's in your collection as a whole. That's my first do. Don't spend more money on your collection than your system. What do I mean by that? So this is a little bit, or I would say mostly for new collectors. If you're an experienced collector and you've had a turntable for many years, you've probably upgraded or improved, right? But for a lot of new collectors, they go into a Walmart or a Target. That's fine. That's maybe where they get introduced to vinyl, and they'll pick out one or two records, which are, maybe $25 a piece. They're new reissues. Maybe they grab, Abbey Road, and they grab Thriller, whatever, Walmart and those types of store stock. Great albums, right? Then they'll reach down below and they'll grab a turntable and they'll say, all right, well, this one says all in one, says speakers included, and man, easy to use, great. Grab the turntable, grab the records, go check out. Well, that turntable is probably $50, maybe $75. That's more or less the same price as 2 or 3 records. And so if you're a new collector and you've spent more on your little collection than you have on your turntable, something has got to give, right? And so you should dedicate a little more money towards that turntable, maybe an amplifier, some decent speakers, than building up that collection, right? Because you're gonna enjoy your records so much more if they actually sound good, right? I'm not saying go out and spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a audiophile grade turntable and amplifier and speakers. Like, you don't need to jump all the way there. just get something decent, spend a little bit of money, and again, keep it in comparison with your collection. If you've only got a few albums and maybe you're not sure if you're going to stick to this record collecting thing, well, that's fine just to have a cheap turntable. But if you're serious about it, you're thinking this is something you're going to do for the long haul, make sure that you've got something decent to play your records on that will not damage your records, and most importantly, create an experience so that you actually want to listen to them, right? My second do is a great follow-up to that. Invest in a listening space. So again, I'm not talking about going out and spending tons of money. That doesn't have to happen. Some people, a listening space means they have a whole room in their house that is dedicated just to listening to records. That's awesome. Not everybody can have that, right? Maybe they don't have the space for it. Maybe it's just not where they're at right now, where that's not going to happen, and that's totally fine. You don't have to have a whole room. What you should have is just some sort of dedicated space. That can just be a chair. That can be a corner in the side of a room where your turntable is out, it's easily accessible, your records are easily accessible, and you've got a place to sit down and actually listen to them. Because if you don't make it easy, then you're not going to actually listen to your records on a regular basis. Believe me, the hobby of listening to vinyl records, collecting vinyl records, it's already so inconvenient, right? They're fragile, they're heavy, they're expensive, they take up lots of space. It couldn't be more inconvenient. So don't make it any harder on yourselves. You need to make it easy. You need to give yourself a setup that is, like I said, very accessible, and that will increase the volume of the number of records you listen to over time, because it's going to be a much more conducive place to kind of sit down and enjoy them. That's the key. You've got to get to a place with your turntable, with your collection, and with your listening space where you're actually enjoying doing it, because that's what's going to give it longevity, right? All right, the next don't. Don't buy from just anyone. Here's what I mean by that. All record stores are not created equal. Talking about mom and pop shops, independent stores, big box retailers, online sellers, it doesn't matter. They're all not created equal. So what you want to do, if you're a collector and you're serious about this, is find a record store, again, physical or online, that you trust. Find a couple of them and stick with them. If they deliver a quality product, if they have good inventory, if you're having it shipped, if they're packaging it properly, if you're walking into the store, if they're friendly, find a couple of record stores that you really like and stick to those, and reward those stores with your business, because they have put time and effort into curating music for you, into creating an environment, again, whether it's a physical store or even an online site, that is conducive to discovering new music and experiencing new music. You should reward those stores. So don't just buy it from anyone. Don't just Google a record and click and buy it from any store, because you don't know where that's coming from. Most stores, online, physical, big, small, have the ability to get access to all the same records. When we're talking about new inventory, used is a little different. Obviously, that's going to be a much more of a hunt situation, which is fun as well. But again, just don't buy from just anyone. Do some research, figure out who the store is, who's behind the store, where it's at, if they're family owned, if they're independent, if they're a big corporation, whatever it may be, and make your decision based on some of those things, in addition to whether or not they just have the album you want, right? All right, back to the do's. Number 3 do: clean your records. Not just used records that look filthy because you just got them from a garage sale, right? I'm talking about all records, including new records. You would not believe the number of new records that need to have a good cleaning before you put them on your turntable, or again, you're not going to have an optimal listening experience. It's not going to sound as good. And why is that? Well, records are manufactured in a pressing plant. There's dust, there's dirt, there are humans that touch them, and as careful as they try to be from a quality control perspective against all of those things, undoubtedly records are going to get dirty, and they're going to get put in a little dirty, even if it's something you can't see to the eye. So when you get records new or used, clean them. Get a cleaning solution, get a cleaning station. There's lots of different ways to clean records. It does not cost a lot. You don't need anything special. It's a few dollars to get a nice rag and a nice cleaning solution, and you can wipe them down. There's lots of tutorials. I'm going to work on one of my own soon about cleaning records, but get it done whichever way you can. Make sure you're not damaging your records, but just keep them clean again, and don't anticipate just because you've opened shrink wrap and pull it out that it's going to sound absolutely amazing, because it could use a good cleaning. So that's a big one. Number 4, don't buy from only big box retailers. Keep in mind, make sure you hear the word only. I'm not saying don't go buy from Walmart, don't go buy from Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, right? Hey, you spend your dollars where you want. If they've got great deals, they've got records that just about every record store has. So I have no problems with you going and getting a great deal. What I'm saying is don't only buy records there. And again, I'm talking in this case to primarily new collectors, because they may only know the records they see at Walmart. Maybe they don't have, maybe you're a new collector and you don't have an independent record store in your town. So the only place that goes Walmart. Well, you got to go online and you got to find some independent retailers who will have some interesting stuff, who will curate for you, and it won't just be the major releases that a big box carries. So all I'm saying is spread your dollars around, shop local when you can. If you see a great deal at a big box, jump on top of it. That's great. But just be mindful that every time you do that, it's coming out of the pocket of an independent retailer in most cases. But just spread it around, keep it even, and that will go a long way to pushing the industry forward, because independent retailers, record shops, they've got to survive in order for this industry to continue to thrive. All right, speaking of buying records, this is the number 4 do pre-order your new releases and new vinyl. And here's why. If you don't pre-order, there's a pretty good chance that if it's something limited in any way, shape, or form, you may not even get it, because these days things are selling out so quickly. So if you see something come up, advertised or posted from an independent record store, from a big box, wherever it may be, if you don't pre-order that item, you may lose out, because by the time it actually comes out, they will be all allocated. Now, this doesn't happen with every title, it doesn't happen with every release, but these days it's happening more and more, and especially, again, if it's an indie exclusive or if it's a special variant that they're only pressing a couple hundred or 1,000 of, there's a pretty good chance that if you wait till street date, release date, show up at your local store hoping they have it, they may not even have it, because again, they've all been allocated. The other thing that pre-ordering does, it actually helps the local store. Believe me, as an independent store owner, when my customers pre-order stuff, it tells me, hey, this is what I should be stocking, right? And it gives me a chance to actually stock what my customers want. If you wait till the day before it comes out, or the day it comes out and you say, hey, can you get this? I may not be able to get it anymore, because again, demand is really high. And so by pre-ordering your records, you're really helping yourself out and you're really helping your store out. So highly recommend that, especially if there's a lot of new stuff coming out that you're really interested in, for sure you want it. Don't wait on it, get the pre-order in, because that's the only way you're gonna guarantee yourself to get it. My very last do, and then we're gonna wrap this up. Number 5 is educate yourself to become a better collector. I can't preface this enough. If I could go back in time, even just 10 years, I would have dove in a lot faster, because then my collection would be even that much better. Because if you're whether you're trying to get started or whether you've done this a long time, just go a little bit deeper, learn a little bit more about the records you own, the records that you're eyeballing and you want to keep track of, and you figure out which ones to buy, about the industry as a whole, whatever it may be. Just dive in a little deeper, educate yourself about the industry, about the hobby, about the physicality and the manufacturing of it. All of those things are going to play in to you making better decisions and you curating a better collection over time. I promise, the more you're educated, the better you're going to be at something, period. And so I can't preface that enough. And that can mean a number of things. That can mean, reading articles or reading books on it. That could be just going to YouTube and watching videos. All of those things are going to educate you. I mentioned Discogs at the very top. Using an app like Discogs is going to educate you a ton about what's out there. So there's a lot of ways to educate yourself. And I think depending on where you're at in your collecting, again, whether you're new, whether you're experienced, like that means something different to everybody. So basically what I'm saying is just, again, take another step or 2 or 3 when the time is right. Just continue down that path, because that's only going to make this more fun. It's only going to make it more enjoyable. It's going to make, provide more longevity to what you're doing. and more collectability, more value. It increases everything as far as the hobby is concerned. So I can't preface that enough to get educated. So those are my do's and my don'ts. I will recap those in the description below. If you don't agree, let me know. If you've got other do's and don'ts, definitely let me know. I'd love to curate a much longer list and do an updated video with lots more do's and don'ts based on your comments. So if you've got them, put them in the comments of this video. I'd love to check them out. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is G.I. Sanders with NTX Vinyl. This has been Talking About Records. We'll see you again next time.